All right, we're back. We're back. Just coming off our first loss of the season. Nobody likes losing.
No one likes it.
But we can look at the good and the bad from the situation.
Right.
I first want to just start off talking about, I felt like we had two teams. We had the first half team,
Right.
which I was disappointed in.
Sure.
And we had the second half team, and I wasn't disappointed in there. And I believe actually the second half team outscored Deer Creek in the second half. But they couldn't quite cover what the first half team did.
Right. Yeah, it took us a while to get going. To your point, I kind of remarked to the team after the game, it felt weird to lose. We're not used to losing, haven't lost in, very much in a long time.
Right.
I feel fortunate at that, so I'm grateful, for that, to be in a program where, that's not the norm. But as you mentioned, earlier, it's, we had a really slow start in the first half, took a long time to get going. I'm not a huge history buff, but I believe that's probably one of the first times we've been shut out in the first half in a very long time that I can think of. So I had to go correct some stuff, make some halftime adjustments, be able to find a way to get the ball going and and get in the end zone. And so it was difficult, and obviously no one likes losing, as you said. I promise you, no one's more competitive than I am. I don't enjoy losing, but I think it kind of depends on how you want to view a loss. And how our defense coordinator, I think, puts it in really good ways. Brad Clark, he says that really, wins and losses on Friday nights are just a test of our processes. And so we saw a lot of things that we need to improve upon. So from that standpoint, it's really, it's actually exciting to me. I get excited about the opportunity to, make improvements. And I tell our team and told our guys, I'd much rather find out in early October than early December.
Right.
And so there's obviously a lot of things that we need to clean up and a lot of things that we need to get better at. But I told our team and our coaches, I told our team on Monday and our coaches this weekend that, really there's three things. One, we have very committed players. We have very talented and committed players. I mean, they are very committed to the team. They're great teammates. They're unselfish. They work extremely hard. And two, we have coaches that love our kids, and I think I'm the best assistant coaches in the state of Oklahoma that work diligently for our kids and, and work tirelessly, try to, find solutions to things. And three, the great multiplier is time,
Right.
And now granted we need to get going quick. We have a Thursday game, this week and have, a lot next week and so on and so forth. So our district's really, really tough and have to, can't waste time. But in reality, the season's just about halfway over, and so we still have time to be able to make corrections and be able to make the adjustments necessary to do it. And, from that standpoint, you look at all those things, and it's like, man, okay, well, let's start being solution-oriented and trying to find ways. I think as a coaching staff sometimes, and coaching in sports in general, it's like you lose, and it's kind of a fog of war where it's kind of like, what happened, what's this? And it's like, really get to the root of the issues, change the processes that need to be changed to be able to help you be successful, because ultimately you're trying to be the best version of yourself. And so we found, some things we need to improve upon, which is exciting. And so we need to continue to work to those and get better. But, to your original point, first half versus second half better, but still not to our standard. That's still not where we want to be. That's not what we want to do. And, I know we'll get into more in depth here in a second, but I felt like, our defense played well enough for us to win the game, and we didn't do that. And so we got to find a lot of solutions, and do it in a very timely manner. But, as always, I appreciate how our kids conduct themselves like champions and, work extremely hard. But we just got to find a few more solutions.
Yeah. I've always felt that some teams, not necessarily this team, but some teams, it's good to have one loss because that's where you truly see their character. Because It's easy to win and get along.
Absolutely.
But losing is where you truly see that character and where you truly see that, not that anybody ever wants to lose, but
no.
I am excited the fact that this is not the week before playoffs.
Right.
That we have 4 games to get better.
Absolutely, in the regular season left.
And be ready.
Yeah, and that's a great point that you brought up. A lot of times after a win or a loss, and post-game speeches to me are, it's kind of, you can't really get into much. You haven't watched the film yet. You've seen it live. A lot of times, like, what you see may not have actually been, completely correct, and you may have missed something or whatever. But this post-game, this previous Friday, was a little bit different. Like, I kept the team a little bit longer than what we typically do, and players spoke and coaches spoke, and that was very truthful conversations. And to your point, they knew we didn't play well. Knew that wasn't our best effort, and are very committed to the process that it's going to take to be able to correct it. And so there was no pointing fingers, no blame. You know, the O and gold, the ownership factor is great with this team. You know, and they handle themselves well as they can. But, you know, like you said, like no one likes to lose, you know, and I am probably the worst at it, you know. But, but you also understand that it's part of it, you know, and you don't want that to happen. But I think the response to adversity will really determine not only how well you do in a football game, but how well you do in life. And I tell our kids all the time, man, it's like I don't know who, you know, will play in a state championship game, but I know it'll be a hard game. You know, it's like I don't know if there can be no great opportunity without adversity. Like you have to have the adversity; it's gonna come. So you have to make sure that you're ready when it does.
Well, and you mentioned playoffs, not me, but we know if everything goes according to plan, the top 4 teams are gonna be tough.
No doubt.
And so it doesn't matter how you mix them up. I would argue that any of those top 4 teams has the opportunity to beat any of the other top 4 teams on any given day because it depends on the way they're quality programs and they're quality teams.
Absolutely.
And let's go ahead and go into the statistics of the things. I felt the statistics ended up being fairly even. Deer Creek had one huge run. And it looked like both teams were very run heavy, and both teams passing wasn't their strength this game around. Did you know that going into the game plan? Because I kind of felt like they were going to test us and pass all over the place. Or was it really our defense that just really shut down that pass?
Right. I think it's kind of a combination of both. I mean, you know, I think they did a good job of kind of taking what was there, you know, and as you talk about, you eliminate 2 plays, you know, and I think, you know, our defense played lights out. You know, they had right around 200 yards of offense, you know, which is pretty low. I mean, that's not a whole lot of offense. It's not, you know, 1962. You know, that's you know, that's a pretty low number, and that's what I felt, you know, pretty disappointed. Because I feel like, you know, if you told me on paper our defense holds them to 200 yards of offense and they have a really good offense, really good quarterback, as you know, I'd say that's a win. You know, that's a win. You know, and we're averaging, you know, kind of significantly less than what we typically do, you know, in our program and over the course of, you know, the last 5-6 years. And so, you know, we got to get better, you know, and that's ultimately what it is. And so, you know, like, you know, coaches got to do better, kids got to do better. You know, the program has to do better and try to find ways to, you know, put up points. But, yeah, that's something that obviously is a point of emphasis for us to be able to, you know, not have to rely so much on the ground game and be able to be, you know, balanced and do those things. But also, you know, credit to our defense. For our secondary played lights out, you know, and there wasn't a whole lot of open guys to throw to, you know, for him. So, you know, it's always a combination of a lot of things. But, you know, once again, it's, you know, you'd much rather find out in early October than you know, December. And so we obviously have our work cut out for us, but we have guys, you know, coaches and players that are committed to finding the answers.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Let's get away from the negative. You know, you got to face a loss, face a negative. This is the first coaches show that I have hosted that was a loss, right?
Yeah, it's been a long time. So
I don't like it.
No, I know it's more fun to talk about wins.
So we'll do that.
Let's just promise to talk about wins.
We will.
Yeah, let's do that.
And so I want to transition to, like, I got an offensive player of the game. You got an offensive player game. To me, you know, there's wins talking and the individuals that stood out to me, and I have mine. And so I'll let you pick.
Okay. Well,
you want to go first? Or you want me?
You go first. I'll tell you because it's almost a trick. So go ahead.
Okay. I really had LT Simmons.
Okay. That's a good choice.
I thought that he just came in at the right times to keep things going, and I felt that he's done well all year, and I felt that this game that he really, really helped out, especially giving Cash a little bit of opportunity, a little break back there, and a little, you know, when you have a running back that you have to tackle, that sometimes that buys your quarterback time on those read options and different things. So that's who I had this time.
That's a great choice, and that was one of them. So we had an unprecedented 3 offensive players of the game. LT being one of them, as both running backs, Mayor Morgan and LT Simmons. You know, and the big problem is, like, you know, how can you get both those guys on the field? How can you get both those guys the rock? Because they had some of the most impressive runs that didn't go 80 that I've seen in a long time, you know, where those guys are getting hit 7 yards deep and still making a +2 gain. You know, just unbelievable efforts with both those guys. Just tremendous teammates, tremendous hard workers, just so tough to bring down. And so you could have given it to either one of those guys. We gave it to both. Then on top of that, it's hard to go against Juju Smith with 3
Yeah.
touchdowns.
No, I mean,
he had
yeah.
all 3. And so, just those guys were clearly, upset after the game. They left it all out there. They gave everything they had. Those guys deserve to win. Those guys are winners. Those guys are champions. And those guys, deserve the win. And they're going to get it. When you play like that, you pull other guys along to play like that. And so we got a great opportunity anytime you give any one of those 3 guys the ball to be able to punch it in the end zone. And all 3 of those guys are extremely special. Extremely special.
Well, it's always good that I'm kind of on.
You're on.
Because I'm not cheating looking at the board. I'm doing my own analyst.
Right.
All right, well, I'm excited about that. Let's go on to the defense. And again, defense, I'll just take because I want to see what you got without me being biased. It's hard for me to ever pick a single person on the defense.
A lot of guys making plays.
A lot of guys making plays, and a lot of units working really well together. The unit works really well together. But I had Braven McConnell just because there's a couple plays where I really felt like he saved a touchdown. And there's a couple times he was just right in the right place, and you can see them turn up rather than go outside.
Yep.
So that's who I have.
That's a really good one. Braven had a huge game. Braven battled, through some, pretty significant, a cut, on his elbow and different things, and just showed a lot of toughness. And just his want to stay in the game. And he's really just elevated his game throughout this course of this year and just continually gets better and better and better. Really good athlete, really good, off the edge, and just can do a variety of things. And so, Braven would have been a great choice. We did another 2 guys that kind of kept showing up. The first one, Jamari White with a big interception.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Towards the end, just a ton of open field tackles. And like he kind of gets lost sometimes in just, how many plays that guy makes. And how good of an open field tackler he is. And so he'll have a tackle for loss from the safety position. He'll be able to come down and have a lot of solo tackles. That paired with his interception, led him to be one of the co-defense players of the week. And then the second one is a guy that's one of it's hard to say one of my favorites, but it's like overall I love them all. But
right.
Just a guy that I feel like doesn't get enough credit, and a guy that doesn't get enough pub out there, but just constantly makes plays so consistently, and very quiet person, doesn't talk a whole lot, but it's Caleb Bastida.
Okay, yeah.
On the D-line. And, he gets overshadowed sometimes by some of the other guys, but just you hit play, and this guy's just going crazy the whole game. I mean, and from the first snap to the last snap, his effort never stops. He's so athletic. He's so quick. And he's just an absolute terror in the middle, making TFLs in the run game, getting sacks, always around the football, always, he's almost unblockable, and just a guy that no one talks about a whole lot, but just as a tremendous, tremendous football player is Bastida.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And with Bastida, he makes the broadcast a lot.
He's all over the place.
And sometimes, especially those guys up front, we don't get to say their names or see their names because they're on bottom.
Right.
And so you see a bunch of
5 or 6 of them too.
Right. So you see a bunch of people get off, and then all of a sudden we're on the next play, and so.
Right.
But yeah, it's, the line works really well together. But Bastida does get said. His name's said a lot just because he's
a great person.
But yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean that's good stuff. I love watching the defense. It's
They're fun to watch.
Well, probably my favorite defense to watch in years.
Yeah.
Just
really
because they just work so well as a unit.
We talk about, one of the phrases we use all the time is never tackle alone.
Yeah.
always invite more people to the party, and they do a great job of that. And so it is difficult to kind of pick out one because normally there's, 7 or 8 on the tackle.
Right.
And they do a really good job of swarming to the football and just have that, 11 is one mindset that we preach through the Havoc D.
All right. I think we can leave Deer Creek in the blinders for now.
Last one I'm going to talk about is special teams.
Okay.
Cole Tire.
Cole Tire.
And,
okay.
If you watch number 84 out there, man, he's fun to watch. Like, I love Cole. So I take 1,000 Coles on my team. I mean, that guy is pure energy, pure passion. All gas, no brakes, just full on all the time, and he's fun to watch. And I mean, that guy has big hit after big hit, always going 100 miles an hour, always finding his ways around the football, and you never ever have to question his heart or effort. A true champion, and really, really impressed as Cole just continues to get better and better and better each and every week. And he finds himself just in more and more places just because of how the reps that he's earned through his hard work. So great kid, great leader, a lot of passion, love seeing it, love that he's on my team. Is Cole Tire.
All right. forgot special teams. All right. Now I want to leave them in the blinders,
Yep.
and I am excited. I'm hoping it works out that we can play in the state championship. But we got a lot of work.
Got a lot of work.
We got, so we don't want to talk about that, but it can happen if everything goes according to my plan.
I like your plan. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Let's go ahead and talk about this week, and we'll get to the practice players of the week. But let's talk about Northwest Classen and what we got going on today, and what we're expecting to see here.
Yeah, I mean Northwest Classen, one of the better Oklahoma City public schools, athletic team, well coached. Gave Lawton fits a few weeks back or last week, and just kind of continues to improve and have it's an athletic team, fairly big team. They have good size, good schemes on both sides. And ultimately, like every game, I know it's always a boring answer to fans, but it's like, I mean, you're really trying to be so inwardly focused this week, with practice that like we know how many issues we need to fix in ourselves, and so of course you prepare and respect the opponent, and there's no question about that. They do a great job, but we feel like we got to continually get better, and and just brush up the things that we need to get better at to be able to get where we need to get to, and so. It'll be a test for us. We need to go execute. That's what I'm looking for tonight, is just a clean game that we can execute well, and be able to, I want to see the tempo on offense. I want to see the pass game open up. I want to be able to, have the pass game open up the run game. Defensively, I want to get back to just, gold standard football where we have, 11 hats the ball and, flying around and, and trying to make an offense one-dimensional. Throw the ball well, run the ball well, and we're going to try to, shut down the run game and make them throw it. So, we'll see. But I'm looking forward to getting back, with our guys. And anytime after a loss, it's like I'm like, man, I want to get back out there. Obviously you have work to do, but it's like I'm glad it's a Thursday night game, fall break, short turnaround, and we're ready to get back after it again.
And that's the beauty of I talk about this just a couple times a year, but the beauty about the rhythm of a football week,
right?
Where it's almost comforting. And, I used to call football practice when I was a coach. I didn't call it practice, I called it therapy.
Yeah.
Because the world doesn't make sense, but football practice does. You know what to expect, and then you have this rhythm, and you have this you're looking forward to getting back on the field.
Right.
And showing your stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? And so
in football is, as you mentioned, like it's a game like no other, because the ratio of practice to game time, is so great, whereas you play basketball, you play baseball, you play all these other sports, and and like you play a lot of games, and in football you don't, and so it's like it you think some things, and I've done this for a long time now, and then you find out that maybe you don't, like in that you thought that this was you're in good shape here, and then you find out like, oh man, maybe we need to like work on that a little bit more. Whereas in other sports, I think you're able to find that out pretty quickly, and so it's nice that it is a Thursday game. It's nice that that we're able to kind of get back on the field quickly, and we really haven't had that rhythm this year.
Right.
Because of all the interruptions and the tragedies and things like that. And it's been kind of a strange year as far as trying to get some type of cohesiveness and consistency on a weekly schedule, because we haven't had that. And so we're finally kind of getting into that rhythm where I feel like we can really, get settled in and really kind of fine tune our processes, to make those big improvements that we need to get to be able to have a chance at hosting a playoff game and then taking it one game at a time.
And I think the good news is this is the last Thursday game before playoffs. I think there's a scheduled playoff game during a Thursday, depending on how they work it out. But that's
I don't think it's us. That's not us. Ours will be Fridays, I believe. So.
Yeah, I think so. But this is the last Thursday game, so the last 4 weeks in we got last 3 weeks are going to be Friday.
Correct.
And so we'll be back in the rhythm right before playoffs. And of course, the way it's going to work, we can talk about playoffs because we just have to be in the top 6.
Right.
And that's going to happen, but we don't want to talk further than that. So we're going to make the playoffs. We're working on a bye at this point, and we can hope Deer Creek maybe messes up a little bit, but really we're working on that bye, that second spot.
Sure,
that'd be okay.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm looking for. This game is this game to me is we're working towards the playoffs. We're working towards getting to be a whole team. You always are working towards the end of the season because the first game of the year. All right, so I'm looking forward to just kind of seeing how they bounce back this week and next week, and how they come together and get stronger. And so we'll be talking about that probably next week.
Yes.
I'm still having fun. This is a fun team.
It is a fun team. They're awesome kids. They are a fantastic coach. They're talented. They have high character. They work extremely hard. They have all the things, all the things. And so it's like, I know they'll be committed to the process of improvement and just continually getting better. And I have no question about that. And so, they are fun to coach. I always tell them, like, the answers are in the room. We have the answers in the room. We have the guys that we need. It's just putting the pieces together, and getting them in line to be able to move on down the road. But it's exciting, and again, it's like that may sound weird after a loss, but it's like, okay, like we found out some things. Like now let's, continue to move forward, and get better, because ultimately that's what it is. You know the timeline that you have. You know what you need to improve upon, and so you know how quick it is. But ultimately it's like, we have to just continually make those small improvements each and every week and be rolling by week 11. That's always the goal. By week 11 you're playing your best football, and we can still do that.
Well, one of my favorite Texas A&M expressions is
I don't know any Texas A&M expressions.
We didn't lose. We ran out of time.
Okay.
And I truly believe that,
Right.
that given enough time, if you have the heart,
Sure.
you will always win. And so I look at the fact that they did not quit.
Right. Oh, no.
They got the L,
Yeah.
but they did not quit.
Right.
And ultimately, we could have 4 more quarters. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking forward to. And it's those 4 quarters are going to be a little more important than these 4 quarters.
Right. Absolutely. Next game is always the most important, and obviously you want to win. We all want
Yeah.
to win. But sometimes that doesn't happen in life, and so if you're going to fold up your tent and roll up and curl up in a ball and cry, or you're going to go do something about it. And obviously we're going to choose to rebound and do something about it and continue to improve, because ultimately that's what life's all about.
Well, I'm expecting some big hits tonight. So until next week, stay classy.